Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is 𝗏𝗏, and this is Magnetize Yourself, where we talk about life, love, spirituality, and of course, the law of attraction. Today is a bit of a spontaneous video because I was out walking and my guides really started pushing me to make a video about soul ties, specifically what they are and what to do when we find ourselves in a soul tie connection that causes us to feel a kind of heaviness, sadness, feeling weighted down energetically or emotionally by this connection. And I initially was going to call this video How to Dissolve a Soul Tie, but what my guides were showing me and what I want to speak about in this video is that nothing in the universe can really be broken or dissolved. And this is why so many of us experience a lot of pushback when we approach the subject of breaking or cutting ties with another soul to whom we are really deeply energetically bound and connected. This pushback effect comes because we are trying to do the impossible in the universe by pushing back against something in order to eliminate it or erase it from our lives. Because in our universe, energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. It can be transmuted from one form into another. So in this video, we are going to dive deep into the subject of soul ties and how to release a connection from your life that is no longer serving you energetically, or really rather, more accurately, how to allow this connection to transform into something beautiful, into something supportive, into what you desire in your heart space from this situation. But before I get into this material, if you do resonate with my content and you would like to co-create here along with me on this channel by sharing some of your beautiful energy, then I do invite you to subscribe. An added benefit of subscribing is it allows me to more easily pick up on your energy, your frequency, and this allows me to channel more relevant information both in future podcasts as well as in future reading videos. Okay, so a soul tie often comes with a negative connotation. That term soul tie, really because of the tie part of the word, causes us to feel restricted, to feel as though we've been bound into something. But the thing we need to understand is that soul ties, just like all forms of connection, are actually always in motion. They are very fluid. It's not like one singular, unchangeable cord connecting us to another soul. When we speak of a soul tie, we are actually talking about a habit of energy exchange with another soul. Soul ties first become activated when we begin consciously interacting with another soul in a lifetime. Now, there are two distinct forms of soul ties. One form of soul tie we consciously create in this lifetime. We consciously activate through meeting someone in the physical, through consciously speaking to them, thinking about them, interacting with them, and these thoughts, words, and actions with this other person or in connection with this other person creates a flow of energy, a mutual energy flow that then becomes habitual, meaning energy tends to create these kinds of currents when we flow energy in a certain direction. over a period of time, it becomes a habit. It forms a kind of pathway. In science and psychology, they sometimes refer to these as neural pathways. And we hear about this when it comes to habit building. Psychologists will tell you that it takes a certain number of days to break a habit because of these neural pathways that become formed. Well, in soul tie connections, it's very much the same way. We develop these energetic habits of connecting in with another soul that then become very difficult to break free from. And just like that habit that we may begin to label as bad or negative, and we tell ourselves, I shouldn't do that thing, I shouldn't say that thing, I shouldn't eat or drink that thing, the more we tell ourselves not to do something, usually the more we end up fixating and obsessing over it and stressing over it and ultimately falling back into those familiar patterns anyway. They say the best way to replace a habit that is no longer serving you is to replace it with a more positive habit rather than leaving that void, leaving that absence in your life and transforming a soul tie connection that is no longer serving us is very much the same way. When we find that our connection with a particular soul is causing us to feel energetically depleted, feel a lack of clarity, a heaviness, a confusion, a sadness, the key is not to approach this situation with this person as though we are going to break ties, block contact, block them out of our lives, push them out of our experience, because again, whatever we push against in this universe governed by the law of attraction, we actually are inviting more of into our experience. So when it comes to these soul ties, which by the way, I just realized I spoke on the first type of soul tie, the ones we consciously create. And the second form of soul tie is actually one that is unconscious, that already exists within that very core, deep, authentic space within us. These soul ties, we actually usually don't refer to as a tie at all. We will often call them our soulmates. So these are our soul family, both platonic soulmates as well as romantic soulmates. And of course, this is inclusive of our twin flame. For those of you who are on a twin flame journey, you know that this means you have another physical being incarnated here on earth at this time or in spirit form. There are twin flames on a journey interacting with the spirit, the soul of their twin flame counterparts. But either way, you are consciously connecting with, interacting with, or communicating with a divine counterpart, meaning a soul that shares your identical core soul frequency, whereas your soulmates carry a similar core soul frequency. But regardless, your soulmates, platonically, romantically, your twin flame, if that's relevant for you, all of these soul connections do represent, in a sense, a soul tie, meaning there is a perpetual energetic exchange within these forms of soul connection. Now, the difference between soul ties that we consciously form, that we consciously create, cultivate, and continue versus these soulmate soul ties, the main difference is our soulmates will always remain connected in with us to some degree in our consciousness. Meaning, even if we transform these soulmate connections or this twin flame connection from one form or state of being in the physical to something different, causing us to potentially interact less in the 3D, in the physical with this person, they are always going to be connected in with us on this deeper subconscious level. We are always going to have this awareness of each other at some level of our being. This is how soulmates can go decades without talking to each other. And then they can reunite in the physical and they feel as though they never broke contact. as if they've had this ongoing conversation through the years. The reason they feel as though they've had an ongoing conversation is because they have, just not with words. This conversation has been the perpetual exchange of energy. It's been a subconscious, energetic conversation, or in other words, it has been both of them subconsciously sensing the soul tie, the soul bond that exists between them naturally, authentically, purely, because they simply carry a similar core soul frequency. So in this giant web of consciousness where we are all attracted to one another based on the law of attraction, based on similarity of frequency, we are always connected to, closer to those who share a similar core soul frequency to our own. So of course our soulmates and our twin flame who shares our perfect match frequency. But regardless of what form of soul tie we are dealing with, whether it is one that we consciously create in this life, activate in this life, or whether it is a soulmate or a twin flame, we do have the ability as the conscious creator of our life to transform any of these connections, to transmute the energy of the connection. And that's really how we have to see it. Again, we have to imagine ourselves and this other person as exchanging energy, passing energy back and forth perpetually between the two of us. And we have to envision within our minds when we want to transform a certain connection, we must envision we are simply shifting the flow of energy between us and that person, changing the way in which energy flows to get a more desirable outcome within the connection to this person in the 3D. So one thing to note about soul ties is when I say that they are formed through these energy exchanges, again, that happen either subconsciously, unconsciously, simply because they share a similar frequency to ourselves as a soulmate, as a twin flame, or whether these exchanges are purely happening at the conscious level. They do not have to be exchanges with words or interactions. So regardless of what form of soul tie you share with someone, non-soulmate or soulmate, regardless, you can maintain a soul tie with a person to whom you have not spoken to in years simply by sending them energy in some other form. So talking about them, thinking about them. And if you feel as though this connection is draining your energy, even if you haven't spoken to this person in years, very often the root of this will be in the way in which there is this energy exchange back and forth. You may find yourself, because of this soul tie, psychically feeling as though you are picking up on negative vibes, negative energy from this person. Let's say this is a person that you would not consider yourself to have an amicable connection with, but you do feel that you have a soul tie with them and you haven't spoken in years. The reason you feel a heaviness around this connection, and it remains so active in your consciousness, regardless of how long it's been since you've talked to the person themselves, is because there's been this perpetual exchange of energy between the two of you. So as this highly sensitive, highly spiritual being, you are picking up on potentially what this person is thinking or saying regarding you. So if this person is speaking negatively about you, maybe you feel as though this person does not want to see you do well or see you succeed in life. You are then psychically picking up on those vibrations. And naturally, it is our human nature to mirror what other people send to us. So naturally, unconsciously, we will then mirror back that negative energy to them, keeping this back and forth flow of energy, perpetuating the soul tie between the two of us, causing us to feel energetically drained and depleted. And Very often, this will even lead people to label this kind of soul tie as a psychic attack. They will feel as though the negative energy coming from this person is draining them, is depleting them. But what's really going on is there is this unconscious passing back and forth of negative energy as we continue to mirror and amplify the negative vibrations between ourselves and this person. So they think or speak negatively about us. We pick up on it psychically, mirror it back. And in mirroring it, we amplify it. And then they mirror and amplify what we send to them. And on it goes, only strengthening the soul tie between us. So in this particular example, if we wanted to cut ties with this person, to break this soul tie, so to speak, the answer would not be to simply try and force ourselves to eliminate this person from our mind, to no longer think about them, to no longer notice their existence consciously, because again, whatever we push back against in the universe, we actually experience to a greater degree. We actually invite more of into our lives. So in this instance, we must be the ones, the bigger person, so to speak, in this case, to no longer unconsciously participate in the patterns of energetic mirroring and amplifying. And this is a very challenging thing to do. It takes a very high degree of consciousness because it's very primal in our nature as humans to be able to sense what others think, feel, say about us, to pick up on that energy and to mirror it back to them. But this is where we have to really ascend to that higher version of ourselves, really allow ourselves to be able to consciously, psychically pick up on how this person is feeling, thinking, speaking, maybe even acting toward us, and to dissolve that into love rather than mirroring it back, and in doing so to amplify it, to actually take that energy, take conscious control of that energy and transmute it into love, to send this person love, to send this person power, to wish this person well, to wish them success, regardless of what they may be wishing you. This really reverses the cycle. It clogs the system, so to speak, when it comes to this back and forth amplified energy exchange. Because when this person is accustomed to this negative exchange of energy, which for them could be some form of a coping mechanism, it could be a way to numb themselves out emotionally by taking negative emotion they feel about themselves or their life and actually fixating it on another person or situation. But when you take that energy and you dissolve it into love, when you take the ill will that they may be sending you and you transmute it into wishing them success, wishing them well, sending them love, sending them forgiveness, but forgiveness in the sense of letting go, releasing that person to their highest good, whatever that might be for them, you break the cycle. And this actually causes at the unconscious level the other person to feel almost a sense of confusion. It breaks them out of their pattern of sending out this negative energy toward you. It's almost a kind of deer in the headlights effect, because it takes a pattern that's been very natural and perpetuated for a very long time and breaks both of you free of that pattern. And over time, over the course of doing this, of taking that psychic negative energy and transmuting it, sending it back in love, this very quickly will transform your connection between yourself and this person. So either this person will simply fade out of your 3D experience and your consciousness because they are no longer able to find a connection point with you based in negative frequency, or alternatively, in some cases, if there is the capacity within this connection, it can transform into into something that is operating at a higher level, meaning you are no longer interacting with the negative aspects of that person, but actually interacting with and having a newfound connection with a newfound relationship with the higher aspects that you are bringing up in them, that you are highlighting in them. And this is actually such a beautiful blessing to both of you, because not only does this free you to your highest good, to your highest power, your highest success, but it also gives this person themselves the opportunity to rise into a higher version of self. You are essentially holding the space for them to ascend to this higher level of being if they choose to do so, because of course free will is also at play here. So there are so many examples of soul ties, different forms of soul ties, and how to transform them into a different form of connection. And this conversation is really only scraping the surface. We've really only talked about one form of soul tie. In fact, what we've discussed in this video, I would more so consider to be when you're dealing with a karmic soul tie, whether it's a karmic friendship, a karmic relationship, meaning a relationship, friendship, or connection that is based on mutual wounding or mutual negative patterning, and how to transform that specific form of soul tie. So do let me know in the comments under this video if you would like to hear about how to transform other forms of soul ties, such as connections with soulmates, even potentially a twin flame soul tie, because this video is getting a little long, so I do want to end it here, but I would love to get into further detail on this if this is something you are connecting with. I also do want to let you know I am planning on creating a new subliminal meditation soon, specifically for the art of transmuting or transforming soul ties in our lives. So do stay tuned for that if you are a member of our subliminal site, which for those of you who aren't familiar with these subliminals, they are available through my website, soundandsoulful.com. And so for those of you who are members there, in the meantime, as I am in the process of creating this new subliminal, I do recommend exploring my 7 chakra energy clearing for the practice of transforming these soul tie connections. So one way you can utilize this subliminal when it comes to transforming soul ties is you can meditate with it and allow it to really shift and clear and open your energy, while at the same time meditating upon specifically what you desire between yourself and this person, desired outcomes. And that is really the key here, focusing on what you desire from this person and from this connection, not what you are trying to change, fix, or push against. And really combining this visualization practice with this energy clearing subliminal can be really powerful for helping you to shift the energy between yourself and this person, clear out any blockages that may be causing you to perpetuate some kind of a negative soul tie, and really allow this connection to rise into a higher version of itself. So the link to this 7 chakra energy clearing is in the pinned comments and description box under this video for those of you who are members there or who would like to explore more about it. And for those of you who are still new to the channel, I do invite you to subscribe. If any of this content or material resonates with you, let me know in the comments how you personally feel about soul ties, if you'd like to hear any more about this topic in future podcasts. Otherwise, I am wishing you the most beautiful, wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you again in the next podcast.